Well, someone mentioned this to me. ICER, some new thing. Chocolates, ICERs. International Coalition for Extraterrestrial Research. Has such luminaries as Gary Heseltine and Eamon Ansbro, PhD. Now, congratulations to Mr. Ansbro for finally actually getting his PhD, if that's what's happened, because he used to sign himself Eamon Ansbro PhD ABD, which is all but dissertation, which means he doesn't have a PhD. Now, either he's dropped the ABD or he's actually got himself a PhD. One or the other. Now, PhD people that claim PhDs and then put ABD after it, so they've not got a PhD, they say all but dissertation, are not well regarded in the world, in the academic world. You know, that's huge red flags all over the place. And I think in this chap's case, with very good reason, as we'll see a little bit later on in the video, because we'll have a look at some of the things he was claiming a couple of years ago with his superluminal communication system. Oh dear, I stand to be corrected. I'll have to go through and look at some other material, but I think he was trying to demonstrate it, and it said it actually needed some sort of person to use their consciousness with the device to reach out and feel for those aliens. So yeah, these are the sort of people that it's only this guy and this guy here, Gary Heseltine, that I've actually heard of. The rest of them, never heard of them. But if they're on a panel with these guys, I suspect their level of credibility will be pretty similar, and that's none whatsoever. Now, Gary Heseltine publishes the UFO Truth magazine. And UFO Truth magazine features Ben Emlyn Jones, and we know that anything Ben Emlyn Jones has to say about ET and UFOs is absolute nonsense. Ben Emlyn Jones thinks that the Queen of England is actually a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. And to give you an idea of how much credibility you should give to anything said or written by Ben Emlyn Jones, and this guy happily publishes Jones's material on a regular basis. So you can't give any credibility to that magazine, and you can't give any credibility to Gary Heseltine. If he's going to publish that kind of stuff, I mean, what sort of research is that, really? Actually, let's just, before we go on, let's just have a look at Ben Emlyn Jones telling us all that he thinks the Queen of England is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. Okay, and here we have Ben Emlyn Jones, a regular contributor to UFO. Oh, I can't even say it. UFO Truth. UFO Truth magazine. Okay, here we go.
Steve Bumling says underneath, Ben also seriously believes the Queen of England is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. That's the sort of group you belong to. Correct, Steve, I do.
So there's Ben Emlyn Jones telling us all that he does believe the Queen of England is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. Now remember, this guy is a regular contributor to UFO Truth magazine, so line up and buy those copies of Truth. Yeah, no delusional nonsense in there, no fantasy, no well, I suppose if you can believe that the Queen of England is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space, you'll probably believe all of the science fiction UFO tales you find in that magazine. Okay. All right. Well, that's just a quick look at these guys at ICER. That's Gary Heseltine and Eamon Ansbro. And just a little clip from Ben Emlyn Jones there. Actually, no, I will include something else. I'm just going to I will include something else before I disappear. I'm going to show you something that Eamon Ansbro was doing some time ago, and I think we'll get a bit of a chuckle out of that one. Yes, so Mr. Ansbro has been running this thing in Ireland, the Kingsland Observatory Resources for Education. Eamon Ansbro, okay, and he's claiming instantaneous communications across interstellar distances. Instant communications. There's none of this nonsensical delay that you get with radio waves because they only travel at 186,000 miles per second. He can actually do it instantaneously. Now, quantum, is it quantum superluminal communications? Now I don't know how he's actually demonstrated this, that it actually works, but certainly the if we look at the equipment he's using, so he's been kind enough here to include. Okay, so there's the antennas he's using for his superluminal communications, for communicating over interstellar distances, and they're antennae. They're the sort of things that you find sticking out the heads of insects. Well, my favourite Martian, I think, had antennae, a little stalk on each side of his head with a little bobble on the end. If there was one of these, it would be an antenna, and as there's two, that would be the antennas. So antennae found on insects, of course. Looking at the configuration of these things, I'd say that's a bit of PVC pipe. Lots of inductance there, lots of wire wound around and round and round. Lots of inductance, big toroidal things here, even more inductance. So what this is not is a superluminal communication system. What this is a theatre prop. This is the sort of thing that free energy people do. They'll get some pipe and they'll wind some coils around it, and they'll say, of course, to actually get a working prototype, what we need your money in order for us to be able to produce this. Now, I haven't actually looked at this site in great detail, but I suspect that might be where it's going. Send us some money and we'll get this finished. I take it as Mr. Ansbro doesn't have a Nobel Prize, but he's not succeeded in communicating with any aliens. Now, if we go down and look at, but this is nonsense, absolute nonsense. This is just a theatrical prop. This would do absolutely nothing whatsoever. He couldn't communicate around the block with that, let alone around the galaxy. Okay, so let's have a bit of a look at what else he's got here. Yes, well, there he is. Whoa, fantastic graphics there. Well, he's only got one there. I wonder why he's got two in the actual built version. Perhaps one wasn't providing enough of these, what's he call them, longitudinal waves. Yeah, oh dear. Oh dear, 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 dear. Okay, so what he's saying is there's his denoising, signal denoising. There's the signal with the noise. Excuse me. There's the signal with the noise, and there's the signal denoised. Okay. So these three, selecting protocols, yeah, sounds good, doesn't it? Signal analysis, these three are all the same. Now, I thought that just looks like plain old ordinary noise to me. So just for a bit of fun, so remember that. So this is the signal with the noise, and that's the signal with the denoising. Okay, denoising. I'm not sure that's an actual word, denoising. But what I thought I would do here at the Mumbling Laboratory, I do actually have an oscilloscope. There we go. And this is an oscilloscope, which shows a pretty similar thing, doesn't it? I mean, this is just noise off the radio. I've just frozen it. I've just taken a snapshot, which is what he's done. So there we go. So I've got superluminal communications. I've got the same waveform. You see that? Exactly the same. So this is just absolute nonsense. So I'll just turn this and I'll show you it with the noise. There you go. So all you do is you change the speed of the time base of the oscilloscope, so you can look at it. you change the time and bunch it all up, and it looks really noisy. So I'm afraid this just has no credibility whatsoever. It's absolute bloody nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Absolute drivel. So there we go. So that's Mr. Ansbro. Now, as these are the only two as these are the only two people I've heard of on this particular site, both of them have zero credibility. I would suspect that all the others on there probably have a similar level of credibility. So we'll have to wait and see what they get up to, what they present. But personally, I think it's going to be another one of these TTSA type things, where they're going to talk big and do nothing, produce absolutely nothing, produce no evidence. Certainly not going to be producing any kind of spaceship. So, okay, I just thought I'd, as this was sort of brought to my attention, I'd do a quick video on it, and just let you know what sort of level of credibility to assign to anything they come up with. So just one final look at the antennae. And the let's just have a look at this little caption at the bottom that I missed before, and it says antennae are omnidirectional for all sky coverage. It's interesting, isn't it? It looks like to one side of them there's a tin shed. So are we to assume that these longitudinal waves are fired out through the end caps at the top here? Is that how it's supposed to work? They're fired out through the end caps, straight up in the air, all sky coverage. Because, I mean, if it was radiating from any of this stuff omnidirectionally, then a lot of it is going to be reflecting straight off of the tin shed. So it's not going to be very omnidirectional. Now, if this worked at all, and you were able to bounce a signal off the moon, because the moon is 240,000 miles away, round trips 480,000 miles, radio waves travel at 186,000 miles per second, you could transmit a message to the moon and hear it coming back about 2.5 seconds later. I might actually show a clip of somebody doing that before the end of this video. But what this would never generate anything that would reach the moon, let alone interstellar distances. But I suppose you could stand there with a microphone and, well, actually, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what he's driving this with. What's he driving this with to generate these longitudinal waves? So he wouldn't be able to drive it with a radio, would he? So he's going to have a box with a microphone on it. But what is the box actually doing? How is it generating these longitudinal waves? And there was another thing actually that I thought, well, where was it on here? Yeah, transverse waves within the electromagnetic spectrum. Yeah, okay, so if it's generating waves within the electromagnetic spectrum, I don't think it is, to be perfectly honest. I don't think this is generating anything. they would be limited to the speed of light. This would not be superluminal, even if it was doing something like that. Even if it was generating waves, it would be generating good old Hertzian waves. It wouldn't be which travel at 186,000 miles per second. So I suppose he could stand there with the microphone connected to his box and say, okay, we're going to aim it at the moon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, testing, release the push to talk on the microphone, and you wouldn't hear anything. And he'd say, well, there you go, it's instantaneous. But if it could reach the moon and it was actually using good old Hertzian waves, 2.5 seconds later, you'd hear your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bouncing back from the moon. All right, anyway, this is absolute rubbish. It's, yeah, complete nonsense. I might just before I leave you, if I can find one, I'll leave a clip of somebody bouncing a signal off the moon just for a bit of fun, using good old-fashioned radio. And if I can't find a clip, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, now Mr. Ansbro is going to tell us that you need to resonate with the equipment in order to talk to the aliens.
So, talking about resonance, it's important that the human being resonate with the instrumentation that's there. And through this instant communication, whoever's out there may be using. I suspect they're using this system.
Yeah, so you can't just turn it on and talk to the aliens. You have to resonate with the equipment. Does anyone here know how to do that? Anyone out there know how to resonate with a piece of equipment? Give you some sort of indication of how realistic this superluminal communication system actually is. You have to resonate with the equipment. Well, don't call us, Mr. Ansbro, we'll call you. And I can't find it at the moment, but I think at one of these talks he said, yeah, if you want to see this, you've got to pay him. You can see it for $15 million. So that sort of tells you, I think, gives you a rough idea what it's all about. He was probably hoping some Hollywood half-wit would cough up the money and he'd go over to Ireland and see if he could resonate with some aliens. Okay, so here's just a short clip of Faye Alovsky. Can't say I've heard of her, but she's at one of these radio observatories, and she's just bouncing a signal off the moon. Actually, which one is it? Which one is it? Should tell us which one it is. Radio telescope. Dwingaloo, okay, so it's the radio telescope at Dwingaloo, wherever that is. So I'm guessing she's fairly famous in whatever country this happens to be. Dwingaloo, I mean, crikey, it could be anywhere. Anyway, here she is.
So high, up in the sky. We lost.
Anyway, you get the that's about as exciting as it gets. You get the gist, but of course Mr. Ansbro didn't do any demonstrations to prove that first of all that it wasn't radio, that it was reaching the moon even, and if he did actually manage to demonstrate it bouncing off the moon and back to somewhere obviously out of range of his 2 PVC pipes, that would actually, you'd probably have to use a GPS clock or something like that to actually be able to synchronise the 2 sites, to be able to say, yes, okay, there's no 2.5 second delay there, it's actually instantaneous. No demonstration, of course, because it's nonsense. Superluminal communications is using a couple of PVC pipes with a few toroids hanging off them is absolute nonsense and drivel. Alright, well, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll maybe catch you again.